me. I'm with Caron Lyon here, who's the UK company manager of non-player character. The virtual reality musical. Yay! That's a lot of words. Is it going well?
It's an adventure. This time last week we were doing our first show. Were we?
Wow.
We're Thursday. Where are we at the moment?
Monday.
We're on Monday, so
but maybe not when you're seeing this, but it is a Monday where we are in this world.
But at least 2 weeks ago, the non-playing character trio of talent, Brendan Bradley, Maurice Soke Jr. and Michael Moran, who combined to make this virtual reality fusion of live performance.
Yes.
We're not even on UK soil.
What?
They've come over from LA and Texas, and the show just kind of came together here in the UK in a form that is in true Fringe spirit of experimental prototype in its beginning to end.
So exciting, and it's in a venue that hasn't, I don't think, been a venue before.
It's been a venue for, they've had, I think, flamenco dancing last year, so just sort of like tea dance type of stuff.
Oh, I see.
But we hadn't found it as a venue because we needed internet.
That's important.
That's
hard to get here.
Yeah, I mean, we talked last year when we did Can't Be There, Be Here.
Yeah, the digital for virtual.
Of needing to bring internet to the Fringe.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to live stream out, because there's so much amazing stuff here, I would love to be here with my live streaming kit.
Yeah.
But mobile phone signal is so flaky that you can't really live stream even on a mobile signal. So finding some venues that have solid Wi-Fi was going to be the challenge.
It is a challenge, and this is the reason why this is occurring at a different time. Because when this goes out, this might be a Tuesday, it might be a Wednesday, but it won't be when we're recording it, because live is a difficult thing to find.
It is, and we did find it with our venue Yotel. And not just internet, we needed Ethernet internet, so we need hardwired cable to the wall. And we did find it there, but we are, as a result, the only show in the venue.
It's just you.
Yeah, which we do have storage to die for, which a lot of groups would be in awe and quite envious of our storage.
Yes, you've got a venue that's just you. That's so exciting, but also a little bit lonely.
It is very lonely. We're out on Queen Street.
Yeah.
But as a collective experience with the four of us, it is extraordinary.
Yeah.
The show itself is a virtual reality musical. So Brendan, who is the creator and lyricist of the musical, performs live on stage in a headset.
Yeah.
And Maurice Soke Jr., who wrote the songs, wrote music, and also plays live. So he mixes live loops on a MIDI, plays live keyboard, electric guitar and saxophone.
Wow.
And then Michael Moran, who's our technical director, the whole show that is projected 360 degrees around the audience, because that was one of the additions of the venue having Wi-Fi, that it had this extraordinary projection setup. They were like, we've got to do something with that.
Yeah.
So it's all very new. It's never been done 360. They've done IMAX cinemas. Oh yeah. So big top to bottom.
Yeah.
They've done academic institutions. So anything from just stringing a sheet up and having a projector.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing this year.
Yeah. To being in black box spaces where they've got the projection at the back and some lighting and display. So this is a package just for Fringe. This is a one-off just for Fringe. So
special.
It's unlikely to happen again in this
way.
So if you don't see it at Fringe,
you have to come and see it at the Fringe if you at all can. That's amazing.
We would really love to. They always say, "Why do you want to come to Fringe?" And everybody tells you to have something very specific that you want to be here for.
Yeah.
And for us, it was the opportunity for the UK industry who are interested in innovative Fringe work to see non-playing character and hopefully attract some attention to do a UK tour.
That would be amazing.
obviously the internet's important. So it is unlikely that we will find a venue with the same setup. It is very much adapted to the venue, and I think that's key. Whatever extraordinary venues we find, if they have Wi-Fi, the team, and say Michael Moran, who's our technical director, the whole show takes place in a web browser. So it needs live internet,
It does, yeah.
but not so that we can play a game. It's so that we can connect the internet to Brendan's headset.
Yeah.
So he performs in room and out of room. So he very aptly goes between eye contact with the audience and back in with the players.
Wow, this is intriguing.
So we have 4 players on stage with Brendan. And for Fringe, Brendan went out to multiple Fringe shows across the run-up to Fringe with social media. And said, hey, come play our show. And we've had some extraordinary players. We've got improv musical tonight.
Oh wow.
We've had Pop Off Michelangelo. We've had Solvit Squad come play.
That's cool.
We've had what did we have last night? Devious Distraction. We had a group of 4 small Fringe shows. We've got PBH coming to play on the 13th.
I'm going to play. No,
So-
other people from PDH
Up on
too.
stage.
A team.
I mean, essentially a
Yeah.
VR headset, an Oculus Quest is an Android phone strapped to your face.
Yeah.
And they all need to have internet connection.
Oh, right,
Brendan
yeah.
needs internet connection.
Yeah.
And then the world around you is 4 browsers pointing in different
Yeah.
directions. So you see this 360-degree world.
Yeah.
And it's very much in a prototype stage. So it needs to be low poly, so it needs to be very well optimized. So you're not going to get your BBC graphics, you're not going to get your big AAA games, but what you will get is this sense of wonder as you watch the players in headsets running around the space around
I
you.
have BBC B graphics from the
Yeah,
80s.
and it's really, really endearing, and everybody improvs at a different level.
Okay, yeah.
Brendan loves to improv and riff off everybody, and then because it's a musical, we have cue for song, so it progresses the narrative in a way that musical does best. To contain it to 50 minutes.
Yeah. So the guests, how much do they have to do in this? Are they just being guided, or are they having to do a lot of work?
At the start, there's a bit of a tutorial, so everybody knows what's going on. The audience have a companion app. So there's a QR code around the room that you scan an app to your phone, or it's a web page. And at different stages, your phone changes. So in the tutorial, they have to throw rocks to get rid of the bad smoke monster. And the audience can give them rocks. And then a rock appears in front of them and they have to reach in and they grab it and they can throw it. And so initially our non-player character becomes target practice. The hero uses the NPC, is a bit abused, the poor little thing. And that starts, there's a song introducing our hero. And then without any spoilers, in the first song the hero dies, leaving our non-player character all alone with 4 players who don't know the game, and he doesn't know the game, or they don't know the game, and what do you do? And the players have to guide. So there's bits of the hero littered around the space, so they have to go and collect all the rocks and put it in a puzzle. So that's their first puzzle. That leads into a song.
Wow.
And then he asks, well, you know, what happens next? And there's that dialogue about how do you tell a child about death?
Yes, we don't want to spoil this for anyone though, do we, Caron?
I think it's quite obvious. I mean, one of the things, it's a musical, it's enduring, it
That's
takes
what you're
you on
getting out of it,
a video gameplay, and the story, you know, it is a story of grief and death and improvisation around what can and can't be said, what is dark within you,
Oh, wow.
but in quite a light way, because it's a musical.
Yeah, exactly.
Some people have loved
really
it.
Exciting.
We've had people that come back second night to see it again, which is lovely. But we've had people who love it, people who hate it.
That is what happens with every. I mean, I've seen people get 1 star and 5 star for the same show, and completely at odds. The experience that you get is about you, not really necessarily about what
and
happened on stage.
It's been really interesting in terms of immersion, that when you're sat in a 4-walled space, you physically, even if you're not in VR, where you get that suspension of disbelief is easier to get rid of. In a physical space, you know you're on a seat and you know you're in a physical space. And when you look up at the graphics that are projected around you, It's only when you're asked to look deeper into the space and you look at the horizon beyond the wall that you really get that sense of immersion, because we've got sort of skyline. But all of that is cued live by Michael Moran, who is our technical director. So it really is a live show, and the different camera angles that you're seeing have got different camera sweeps programmed into it, but being taken through that world, Michael is very much on his feet cueing the show. It is very much a live show. I'm operating lights on this one.
Oh yeah.
And I'm being cued just like a deputy stage manager, show caller would cue me. So I've got Michael in my ear telling me when to go on the lights so that it's coordinated with his cinematics and with his cues. He's got live communication with Brendan as well. So there's different decisions that the audience make and they vote on whether they're going to go red or blue or green. And those communications that Michael has set up to go next, he then communicates with the three of us that we're going to either toxic positivity is one of the dealing with grief. We've got distraction, and we've got distraction, and I can't remember what the third one is now.
Well,
always the same, isn't it? But yes,
a secret. It's a secret.
Isolation, isn't it? So
Isolation.
different ways of dealing with the outside world.
Isolation.
And then they play games. You know, they then play these little games.
But the actual people that are taking part don't have to make up songs, do they?
No, I mean, we have got improv musical, and we are hoping that there might be a little riff that kicks off with those guys. But yeah, it's...
But if it happens that he's not going to be angry at us...
Oh, he would love it.
Like, no!
Yeah, no. However you experience the game is how you experience the game. And it's just been really beautiful. Bring something that is, I think, truly the spirit of Innovative Fringe. Yeah. That you are unlikely to see anything like it.
And that's what you want from the Fringes. You want an experience that is like no other, that is special, and you go, wow, that's amazing. Now, it's not the same sort of show, but I saw something called The Ritual yesterday, which apparently is different every night. It will be different because half of the people that were in it have gone home, so it's going to be called The Master now. But that was very much depending on the interaction with the audience. And like when things go wrong, it's like, is this supposed to be like this? And then it's like, no, this is different, and you have to cope with what's happening in the space, and because it's different every time, you can just go. I mean, there are people for that were coming back every night, and there was queues. Yeah, so many queues. There was special ticket system for it. Yeah. So
you know, we are. If you like Twitch, if you like watching Twitch streams, this is the perfect audience experience to be able to sit and do emojis and and understand and take part in something that I think is termed playable theatre rather than immersive experience. I think with immersive experience is this sense that you go and be part of the story. Yeah, but with the playable experience, you are expected to take the role of the audience.
Yes, exactly. You're the audience, and you know your place, but you are having something.
You are given agency. You are interacting. There's a way you can interact, and the performer. There's no fourth wall, so Brendan is talking to you and asking you what you can see around the space, and then you've got four people. When they haven't done it at Fringe, they have just taken people out of the audience and onboarded them 10 minutes before. So they've done all sorts of things, but it's really being able to iterate a show over 22 performances is unique to Fringe. I don't know if there's any other Fringes. I don't know how long Adelaide Fringe lasts. I mean, is that a similar length?
It is a very long one. Although the Camden Fringe has got longer and longer and longer. It used to be like a week before the Fringe, and I think that's pretty much all
extending into.
Just keep going,
whether people
bleed into each other.
So I mean, the whole Fringe ecosystem it's
intense.
It's a planet of its own, and longer and longer they run, the more they get mixed up with the local economy. And I think this year the accommodation has been so expensive.
It's been difficult,
It has been really difficult.
One thing you've got where you're based, are you finding a lot of Edinburgh locals are coming to it? Because it's in Newtown, and it's where people that are from Edinburgh go, that is the centre of town. Whereas if you're coming to the Fringe as an outsider, it feels like the old town and the whole around Royal Mile is the centre. But for people that are actually Edinburgh based, that's not a stretch really. So you're finding more of that.
We have got a lot of really high profile and high caliber offices, so we've done a lot of sort of subtle postcard drops.
Yeah.
We also have clientele of the hotel itself.
Oh yeah.
So we have posters up around the hotel, and we've had people that have come in. A lot of people are coming for shorter times, so they don't have necessarily time to go out.
Yeah.
But if they
Just see
do,
what
they
they're
tend to say we picked up a few
Active
orders from there.
audience. Yeah, and I think that's a good thing too, because you need something everywhere. I think also, as everything is becoming more expensive and the paid venues, the big paid venues, because you're with Zoo, aren't you? Sort of Zoo box office, but you're a venue in yourself attached to Zoo. That's where we are now, Zoo, which was the first place that I ever did Fringe, in this very, behind these walls, which is now a bar, which we tried to eat in and it's not open. But it was a venue when I came here. But I didn't know anything about the Fringe when I first came, and I didn't know that the Zoo wasn't as big a deal as, say, it's nothing wrong with Zoo. Zoo is amazing, and
there's a lot of producing groups, isn't it? And it's not until you get here that you see how it's all plugged together, and you can. There are the big players, you know. You've got the Pleasance and Assembly Rooms and Summer Hall, that are their own ecosystems, and then Zoo is kind of the beginning of the fringe.
But it's still like solid, like official and respectable Fringe. Whereas not that the free Fringe isn't. The free Fringe is the Fringe. People go, you with the real Fringe or the free Fringe? The free Fringe is the real Fringe. But there are paid venues and there are other venues, and there's a layer of things. There's a big 5 that's now the big 6, and the Zoo isn't part of that. But I think the Pleasance, the Assembly, Gilded Balloon,
the comedies, the Pleasance.
There's a few more. I can't remember. And then you've got like Suite and Space and other things which are sort of their own thing, various different things.
And it is. I think
the venues not so much because of things that happened. I think
if you come here regularly as a performer, you exist on one plane. And coming here now to look at producing for shows here and having that sense of building an artist community, because it is like just one big university year. People come back and see each other year after year. But the only thing I can really equate it with is university. It's the only thing that really equates to it, and it happens every year. And I can understand why people get drawn back to it. But just like university, now you end up with a big student loan. A lot of artists who do Fringe do end up with that Fringe loan.
It's probably as big as if you've got a student loan, and that is terrifying.
But only in a year.
But in 1 year. In 3 weeks, you get as much debt as an entire degree. And they say the degrees are expensive. Oh my goodness me. Underbelly is the other one. Underbelly is one of the big ones. But there are lots of sort of bubbling under. Like there are a lot of respectable ones. Forest Fringe used to be a thing, and I noticed that is now, I think, a Gilded Balloon venue, because the Gilded Balloon was originally in Cowgate, and before I even came here, that burnt down. And that was several other venues on top of it there. And they had there's a particular place that had the Gilded Balloon, but now not in use. It's under a load of scaffolding, and it's really weird. So is this your first time that you've come to the Fringe?
This is the first time I've come to a Fringe with a show.
So you will have seen it from a sort of outsider's perspective, but every year something different happens, and every year the centre of the Fringe changes, because it's moving and things are moving, which is why I think moving outwards, moving outwards towards Leith and towards Newtown is a sensible thing for people that aren't the big ones. Because the big ones are moving as well. Everyone's moving. There's a lot of pressure on space.
It's finding your marketing core, and I think that's the benefit of the big venues, is that they have a marketing machine behind them.
Because you've made them a lot of money.
And they have the box office, and they will promote you beforehand, and they've got their publicists. I mean, we've got a publicist, and they've done a really good job at getting some great articles. But we've had some reviewers in, and the reviewers just don't really get the show, but the audiences that we've had have loved it. They've either left completely dumbfounded, or they've left loving it. And I always say it's always better to have the extremes than indifference in the middle. You know, if someone goes, it's a good show, but if someone's going to go away and say to their friends, I hated it, don't go and see it, their types of friends are likely to not enjoy it anyway.
Well, that's true.
Whereas if someone goes away and goes, it was great, it's just what I like, there'll be an understanding of what they kind of like. So we're heading into week 2. We're part of the way through week 2 now.
You're going to find it's very difficult. That's another thing. You won't have seen the way it's changed, but also the way that the weeks change. If you're there for the whole 3 weeks, the weeks change. There's a difference in who comes. And now the Olympics are over too. Last time I did an Olympic year was 2012, and it was very different towards the end, towards the beginning. And you get people fresh-faced just coming up now or at the end in a different position and see it differently. And you're like, I'm jaded. I'm an old-timer by now. You're well into it.
That was so quick as well. I mean, it's only a 3-week period of your life, but the journey that we've been working on Fringe since December. Yeah. And we were working on it pretty much every day. I mean, I had 2 days in my work schedule where I was solidly Edinburgh Fringe. And because we were collaborating across time zones, that was, although I had my morning by about 4:30 in the afternoon when Brendan was starting to get into his day, and he's had a life to lead leading up to here as well and had other things to do. We were having production meetings at 10 o'clock at night UK time. So it has been a lived experience for this last 6 months. So it is going to be an extraordinary close to what has been a 9-month adventure.
Yeah, and that's it. It's the adventure. It's just like people that are just like, this has destroyed me. It's like, don't say that. You have come out of this. You are.
I think one of the things that I learned from going from theatre and the arts and having that regime of repertoire where you rehearse a show and you've got a show on in the evening. And then you're rehearsing in the day, and then you kind of rotate those. And the world of repertory is kind of dissolved now. It doesn't exist in the way it used to.
Not entirely,
but
they're trying to bring it back.
I always try and get people to look at in terms of an event or a show is that you have those 5 stages. You've got your planning and you've got your preparation, and then you deliver it. And quite often people get so exhausted that they get event fatigue and forget. But really, that is only the peak. And then after that, you've got a phase of reflection where you have to go, what happened? You might not be able to write anything, you might be distraught, you might be ill, but you've got to take that time to let that experience settle in you. And then when you've settled in it, some people it'll be a week, some people it might be 2 weeks, but you have to set a deadline on how long that reflection is. And then the final part is the reporting. You know, what are you going to write? Will it be a journal entry that you can go back and look at? Will it just be collecting together all the flyers that you got? Will it be putting everything into a scrapbook? Will it be putting everything into a folder on your Google Drive? But after you're reporting, you've got to have that point of closure.
That is great,
That is something that no matter how frenetic the central experience becomes, you've got to give your time at the end of it to reflect on that experience, document that experience, because in the world that we're living in now, it's all about content. And if you have no one come to see your show in 6 months' time, if you've got fantastic photographs, no one will even ask if you had anyone in the show. If you've got wonderful photographs and you've blog and you've got a little bit of this is what I did, this is what my show was, this is where I want to go, that's what matters.
Exactly. Nil desperandum. No, that's very good, the philosophy of that, because a lot of people are just like plowing everything and they go, I've written the show and I'm doing the show and that's the end. And if it didn't go well, it's like, but there's so many different ways to take that, because you can develop it. It's like something that didn't necessarily work when you started working on it. You can work on it and make it work, or you can go learn from that and move on to the next
thing. Fringe needs closure. Any tour, any event, any project has to have a closure. And
this is why you need professionals like Caron on your team.
And it is really
Yeah.
important, and I think this experience of Fringe has been phenomenal. It's talking the talk and walking the walk is important, and I've always said that I'm a doer. I make stuff happen.
Yeah.
And one thing that has been on my tick list, my bucket list for a long time, is to make an Edinburgh show happen. And it's been extraordinary to, for Brendan and Michael and Maurice to, have the faith in this UK crazy woman that, they made this decision for various reasons, the things that are happening at the Fringe for them all, of why they've come here in 2024. But ultimately, the 4 of us have brought together something that's extraordinary, a venue that has never seen anything like it. They've engineered a 360 experience.
Just incredible,
with a team of 4. They've got somebody who does some rendering for them, but essentially it has all been capitalised through Jigsaw Ensemble, which is Brendan's underlying company.
Wow.
And we're doing it as a fringe show that 4 friends have gone on this adventure, and we will all go our separate ways. The show NPC will continue in some form, depending on the interest from the industry. But where I go with NPC, I just can't wait to see what they want to do next.
And that's what it's all about. Okay, thank you, Caron. That's been a delight
Elise.
and a whole different perspective on things, because I've talked to performers. Performers are coming from it from one perspective, and it's amazing to see all the different perspectives. But to see what goes in to the whole thing, it's not just one person. Even if it's just a one-person show, then it is one person then. But if you're doing everything, but usually you've got, I think you need some other eyes on it. Brilliant.
No, thank you.
Thank you. See ya.